Yo, welcome back to Fun with Friends. It's your boy, brother Guy, back again for some One Championship news. Before I get into that, please drop a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Love the support. We are growing each day at a time. Today, we're going to do some One Championship news. It is going to be an all One Championship week for us. There isn't any or aren't any UFC fights this weekend. But I may or may not do a UFC sort of news segment again on Wednesday. It'll be tomorrow. But today we're going to talk about some of the stories that I found a little bit interesting that's coming out of One Championship today, or at least over the last couple of days. Compiled what I could compile, or at least what I thought was relevant to talk about. So yeah, buckle up and let's get straight into it. I'll start off with the big news of One Championship. Actually, let's do it like this so you can actually see it on screen. Here we go. All right, so the news for today. We found out recently that One Championship has extended their contract with Lumpinee Stadium for a 2-year period. And then what this results in is 45 One Friday fights cards per year, including 4 quarterly 10-pole events as well as 12 One Fight Night events annually. Now, I was a little bit confused about the 10-pole events. I wasn't sure if that was the fight night events or the pay-per-view events, but if they say 4 quarterly, that's one per quarter. That means we're probably going to get pay-per-view cards. But if you look over the last couple of years, we've only really had pay-per-view cards at least once or twice a year from One Championship and a bunch of fight night events. So I was under the impression the 10-pole events were essentially the fight night events, not the pay-per-view events, because I remember the beginning of the year, they advertised, or was it last year, they advertised the 10-pole event, which had Smoking Joe versus Tawan Chai, but that was a fight night event. So it's a little bit confusing. So when you have something that says 10-pole events plus fight night events, you go, oh, okay, well then the 10-pole events has to be pay-per-view, right? But then when you see 10-pole, you think Impact Arena, right? Because that's where they've had it. But then when I think Impact Arena, I don't think pay-per-view. You know what I mean? I think pay-per-view, I think Japan, I think Denver, I think bigger events, bigger arenas, and not necessarily the smaller 12,000, 10,000 seaters. But anyway, big news for the company. Personally, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great thing for the promotion, considering that since 2019, I think it was 2021. The Friday Fights events have really carried the promotion over this last couple of years. It's been largely the biggest sort of cash cow for the promotion outside of all the other events. Because we've been quite real. I'm a big supporter of One Championship, but I'm also not afraid to call out the sort of the unfortunate things that's been happening for the business, which is largely due to their own sort of impact, to their own demise that they've done it to themselves, right? I mean, if you think about the Denver card getting cancelled, for example, fighters being released and not being paid, and if you think about not all of their fight cards have been successful. In fact, if you think about all the pay-per-view events that we've had so far, since I would say 2021 going upwards, and sometimes even the fight night events, we haven't had a successful event where fights were the fights. There were always replacement fights. There were fighters not making weight. Titles were being taken away. Tickets weren't being able to. Tickets had to be refunded because the event bombed out. Like a lot of shambles. Starting TV shows that got nothing to do with fighting. Just for me, bad management over the years. But look, the company's still around. They're not actually going through any bankruptcy, but I think there is conversation around sort of money problems. I'm not too sure how severe those money problems really are. You can go check out Anikin MMA, and he pretty much dropped some really detailed stuff about the business side of One Championship. But seeing this kind of release on the press about a two-year extension is a good idea, considering that the One Friday Fights has been sort of the thing that's been carrying the promotion. So they can't go without that, in my opinion. They need to have Friday Fights events. Not only does it carry them financially, but it also allows the promotion to bring in a lot of faces that can be injected into the sport, or at least into the promotion, and then also help them sort of solidify divisions, right? I do believe, and I'm going to stand by my point here, I do believe that foregoing the MMA or at least the grappling side of things. Like if they go over the jiu-jitsu divisions or discipline, I think that they will be better off. Between the two, with MMA and jiu-jitsu, it's costing the brand a lot of money in terms of how much fighters are getting paid. Like the MMA guys are getting paid so much more than the kickboxing and the Muay Thai guys. Granted that the higher level of Muay Thai kickboxing, they are getting paid really well. But my understanding, non-Thai fighters, and then also, or at least non-Thai base fighters, and then as well as excuse me, they're not really getting paid that much. But then you got the MMA guys and everyone else that are from the US, they're getting paid a good lot of good money to be there, but aren't fighting regularly. So hopefully they can get that correct. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's to come from the organization, because although they had a bit of an interesting year, one would argue that this final quarter of 2025, they've really stepped up a lot of the content. The footage is becoming so much better. The embedded episodes are looking better. Then also their fight cards have been bangers. There's been bangers since the turn of the second half of the year. So I'm quite impressed, and I'm hoping that the new year for One Championship is a big one, especially because now they've got so many good fighters. The Japanese guys have been influxing into the brand. Every Friday fights, we get new Japanese kickboxers coming onto it, and it's really been exploding and making the fight scene look better for One Championship. And tackling the Japanese market was a smart decision from Chaute and his team, and I think that it's going to be a beneficial for the brand going into next year. But give me your thoughts on this, guys. What are your thoughts? 'Cause I see sometimes in some of the comments section here is quite interesting as well. Some people are saying, I'll take 2 years of the promotion existing, sadly. Some people aren't really all that when it comes to One Championship. Some people are concerned about, like, what does this mean? I like this comment here. It says, so 13 non-Lumpinee events. Chowdhury says 70 events next year. I remember with that post, I did a video on that one. 70 events next year. If the four are including with the 45 Friday fights plus 12 fight nights, that's 57 events. So that leaves 13 events outside it. We know two are in Tokyo and Denver. So I'm curious to see what about the other 11. And then Tetsuya, who provided all the information for us, says he doesn't think that there will be non-13 events. I agree. I can't see them going without doing the Friday fights. I think there's going to be quite a number of Friday fights events. It's pretty much every week, like throughout the year, right? It's a lot of Friday fights cards. You could even argue that 52 of those, maybe 56 weeks of the year. No, I lie. 52 is 52. So you could argue about 50 of that 52 weeks. We will have a lot of the Friday fights cards, because that's pretty much every week, guys. But anyway, big updates from One Championship. Definitely looking forward to seeing the growth. I think next year we're gonna have banger events. Promise you, we're gonna have banger events. Big cards to make. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about that, and what are your thoughts on, like, the growth of the organization, while I keep it moving to the next one. Let's go. Okay, up next. So if you've watched the Friday fights card last week, which was 133, if I'm not mistaken, Alaveri Ramazanov was on the fight card, and he fought against Ilyas Abdalali. And that was going to be a big fight if it actually had gone all the way. Early in the fight, like literally after like a minute, there was a lot of leg kicks being thrown from Ramazanov. And then one of the last leg kicks that he threw basically broke his leg completely. And I'm not going to play the footage. You can go watch it back. It's all over X as well. I just thought there was a nice update, and how immediate the update actually was, because it was a day later. Not even a day later. I think it was the same day. Alaveri Ramazanov went under surgery and was successful. Hopefully we can see him back again. I think he's only 30 years old, 31 years old, so he's still very young. I still believe he's got some good stuff in him. I think he can still perform really well and still be a top contender, especially now that he went up to featherweight. I'm very curious to see how he performs in that division. I personally felt that the fight that he was involved in over the last Friday, that was going to be a tricky fight for him. I really felt it was going to be a tricky fight for him. So I'm keen to see, because the division is pretty stacked. But I'm just happy to see that the surgery was successful, because it was a nasty break, one of the ugliest breaks I've seen I've only ever seen two breaks in one championship, and that was one of them. The other one was Noiri versus Alcatriki when he basically broke the leg by kicking his leg. This one was very similar, but Ramazan broke his own leg, and it just reminded me a lot of Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman, and then Chris Weidman when he fought against who checked his leg. Someone fought someone that checked his kick, and it was just broken, snapped his whole leg. Um, yeah, what can you say? Even Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier, very similar as well. But happy to see that the surgery was successful. He's smiling in the photograph, so that just indicates to me that he's going to be healthy and back sometime next year. I'm not too sure how soon, but hopefully it will be next year. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. If you have seen it, what are your thoughts on that leg break? Because that was disgusting. That was absolutely messed up. But okay, let's keep it moving, chat. To the next one, I'm gonna talk about some fights that's coming up for the remainder of the year. Let's go. All right, all right, all right. We have Pan Payak. He's taking on Xiao Chongyang from China. This fight got added to the One Friday Fights 136 card, which will take place 2 weeks from now. So this, excuse me, no, we have one. Today is it's next week. No, next week is nothing. It's the week after. It's the week after. 137 because the 19th. This is 136, so it'll be next Friday. This Friday is 135. Next Friday is 136. So it'll no. Why am I talking so much shit? It's the week after. It's the week after. So it's 134 this week, 135 next week, 136 the following week. Okay, anyway, good fight to add. But the reason why I want to talk about it is because Pan Payak has been a bit on a difficult streak at the moment in terms of his since coming back after losing the title and coming back, he has been struggling to put together some good wins. There's a very much a win loss situation going on in his career. Um, and I want the best for him, but his last performance against Asadullah Iman Ghazaliev was a bad loss for him. And then now he's taking on a fighter who, to be quite honest, is actually really good. Like Zhao is a really good fighter. Good boxing, durable, it's good speed, and I think the boxing in tight will give Panpayak a big problem. The big thing for this fight is that it's flyweight kickboxing, not Muay Thai. So I think that might be favorable for Panpayak for at least for the next 2 years of his career, because then he won't have to take so much damages, no elbows, no hard punches, right? I do think that he's gonna still have some difficulty because of his fight style. Panpayak was never really the most powerful puncher, if you're being realistic. I think game planning wise, strategically, he fights extremely well. His kicks are obviously his best weapons. And that's why you notice over the last couple of years when you see him fighting fighters that have beaten him, they don't fight that kind of game with him. They don't exchange kicks with him. They actually just go in there fast and they start boxing aggressively. And he hasn't been able to deal with that style very well. And I think Zhao, who fought against Arman Moradi in his last fight, which was September 12th, he beat him up, got the second round KO, and he arguably lost the first round, but he didn't lose the first round by getting out punched or out beaten. He was just taking a lot of defensive positions, defending a lot of the stuff, and timing his opponent. And then in the second round, he was like, "All right, now I got your time, and I'm going to put the hurt on you." And I was very impressed with the boxing. I was more impressed with his durability as well. So I think it's actually going to be a very tricky fight for Pan Payak, to be quite honest with you guys. In fact, I'll give an early prediction right now. I actually go with Zhao. Pan Payak, as much as I like him, and I think he's a fantastic guy, I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I think he's actually past his best. Something's up with him, and I'm not too sure what that is. I don't know why he's so much more chinny these days. Like you can really tag him and drop him a little bit easier. Um, let's see what he does. It's gonna be an even fight, but I tip it to Zhao just a little bit more, because especially because it's kickboxing and not Muay Thai. So I think he's gonna be able to put the hurt on Pan Payak, especially because Pan Payak is a very back foot type kind of fighter. He doesn't go forward very often. He's more of like body kick, straight back up, body kick, straight back up, at an angle, body kick straight. Sometimes throws high kicks in there. Because there's no elbows, that might also limit him big time. So there's too many red flags for me when it comes to putting such a high level Muay Thai fighter into kickboxing. It's like they just don't perform the same way. Not everybody has super bond superpowers. Give me your thoughts, chat, in the comments. What do you make of this fight? Who do you think is gonna win? And what's your thoughts on Panpiak overall? Like, where do you think he stands right now in his career? I'm gonna keep it moving to the next one in the interim. Let's go. Okay, up next we have same fight card 13. No, this is 137. This is a week later. We have a big fight, flyweight Muay Thai. This is pretty much for a contract, in my opinion. The winner here is 100% going to get a contract. I'll be very surprised if they don't. Because if they don't get the contract, then Chowdhury isn't really helping out the Thai fighters as much as he claims to be. I know that, so I've been following him very closely, and he has this whole thing about helping out the people that are a little bit underprivileged, right? And that's largely come with some of the Thai fighters because, I mean, let's be honest, they don't really get paid that much. The currency is not the strongest, right? They all that most they get their bonuses. That's all that they're fighting for. Kingston Lick and Sudan Lick has gone on big streaks or big contracted names, right? Both of them. I mean, Sudan Lick fights on Fright Night cards, by the way. That's like prime video cards, right? That's really good numbers for him, and still hasn't gotten the contract. And I find that quite strange. So, and then there's fighters that they have like half the record that they have. Maybe he has less the time that they have, and then they got contracts almost instantly. And you go, whoa, 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 you just had one fight and you lost that fight and you still got a contract. That makes no sense. And there are fighters that are on big streaks and they still don't have any contracts. These two in particular, King Sanglek and Suryan Lek, I think they deserve a contract, win or lose. I'm pretty sure this fight's going to be a banger. It's going to be a high-paced fight. Someone's going to go to sleep. But it's going to be such a highly contested matchup that's going to really like raise the fans, put them on their feet. And in my opinion, they both deserve a contract at this stage in their careers. And I also feel Sudan Nick is 29 years old and King Sang Lick is 24. I think it'll be a waste of their sort of talent and also their ability to pull crowds. It's a waste if you don't give them the contract, in my opinion. I, they'll put on banger fights for you guys all the time, and they can arguably contest with some of the guys in that ranking positions in that flyweight. I would say give them a contract come the end of the weekend, and I think that's also the last fight card for one championship at the end of the year. So it's going to be a banger card, and I think both these gentlemen are going to definitely try and highly likely steal the headlines for that weekend. I can't predict the winner. I think King Sang Lek is the more technical fighter with knockout power, so I find maybe put him as a more superior fighter. However, Sudan Lek is older, he's got more experience, and I think he's more powerful than King Sang Lek, but he is a little bit more on the, I don't want to say one-dimensional side, but you kind of know you know what he's gonna give you, right? He doesn't check any leg kicks. He always gets eaten up with the legs first early, and then he gets super aggressive and starts just wailing on you, boxing hard. And pretty much abandons his defense all the time when he does that. And I feel like King Sang Lek can catch him there as the more technical fighter, but he's gonna have to also brawl with him at some point because that's how Sudan Lek fights. He always puts you in brawls, and at that point, I think it will favor Sudan Lek. But let's see. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I mean by saying this fight will probably end by a KO. Big one, big one. Give me your thoughts in the comments on that one, please. Chat while I keep it moving to the next one. I actually can't wait for that 137 fight card. It's just gonna be such high level stuff happening. Tawan Chai and Liu Mingyang. Oh my soul. What a mega card. Okay, let's keep it moving to some interesting news. Um oh, let's get Okay, I find this one quite interesting. So Kaito Ono says that he will relinquish his shooter boxing belt, and is expected to join one next year to go after the belt and prove that he's the best in the world. Now, that's particularly the featherweight division. Personally, I feel like he doesn't really stand a chance there, or maybe we need to see a little bit more from him. Um, he said, from here on, I'm aiming to become the strongest in the world starting next year. I will move to the place where I can truly prove that, where the world title is. And as for the position of SPS, to show what he means by that, I want to pass that into the next generation, or shooter box, pass that on to the next generation of the young shooter boxers. Okay, cool. He's not even that old, by the way. He's still quite young. Um, what do I think of that? Well, his first fight at one championship was supposed to be against Maratko Gordian. Both those guys had difficulty with their weight, but Kaito Ono pulled out first. Muhammad Sir Sarani, or I think Gordian pulled out. Something must have happened there. Something unfortunate happened there. Then he got Muhammad Sir Sarani May 2025 in the Friday fight card, and he lost that fight by unanimous decision. And a fair and square fight, by the way. At first, I was like, damn it. So I wanted to see a bit more from Kaito, but he got beaten. He got beaten fair and square. Now, do I think there's more to come from him? Yes. And I watched some of his from his fights when he's fighting in shooter box. I watched some of his tape over there. I'm like, this guy is fucking good. He's a high level fighter, right? And one would argue that maybe when he fought against Muhammad Cesarani, the lights got to him, the occasion got him, which is mad to say because I think he's a champion. So I was like, why is he performing like this? But then also we have to put respect on Muhammad Cesarani's name as he's also a top level kickboxer and Muay Thai practitioner. I will say this: bringing Kaito Uno over would be a good idea, especially if you think about how Rukia Anpo performed in his fight, which was very underwhelming, by the way. I think Kaito Uno adding him to the division, which is pretty stacked, right? If I bring it up, right, look at it right now. What was that? Featherweight kickboxing, right? So if I look at the featherweight kickboxing landscape right now, Super One champion Noiri number one, number two, Ratko Gore number one, Cesarani up there number three, Liu Mingyang, Tawan Chai, Shadow. I see Kaito Uno is number 6 currently. Smoking Joe Narawood, Hiromi Wajima, and Rukia Anpo, and there's also Sami Sana. I think you're adding him to a division that is just like that one, like Chowdhury says, it's murderer's row for sure. And it will be a good addition. I just think that when he does get this opportunity again, I would love to see him like take it on with both arms, like be really highly opportunist on this, because I don't want to see him perform the way that he did in his last fight, because then he's never really gonna crack the top echelon of the division. Because honestly, Sarani, Liu Mingyang, Tawan Chai, Maratko Gordian, Masaki Noguchi, Super One, those guys are fucking good, powerful dudes, highly skillful. Kaito Uno, when I look at the tape, I'm like, he's got the stuff, right? So I'm hoping that we get that version of him when he comes into the brand, because then it'll make this division, the featherweight kickboxing division, stand out like a sore thumb. Like everybody's gonna pay attention to it. When you already have flyweight and bantamweight that's also carrying the spotlight quite often. And I feel like we need to see a little bit more of the heavier guys fight like frequently enough, because then that division won't get forgotten about. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hope that this does actually happen, and we get to see another killer added to the organization. Give me your thoughts, please, in the chat. Excuse me, in the comment section. Let me know what you think about that, about Kaito Uno returning to one championship, and then when he does return, who should his first fight be? Who should his first fight be? Let me know. Let me know. Okay, up next, the last thing I want to talk about is a dream card that Tetsuya put together, and I thought it was quite interesting. This is his dream card for 175, which will be in Tokyo, Japan, back at Ariake Arena. A couple of the fights on this fight card, or at least on the one that he put together, I feel like I would change a little bit. So like Takeru Ratang, obviously, like they both agreed to it. That's the one to make for that brand. Jonathan Nagiri versus Yuki Yoza, I think that's a fight to make, considering that Jonathan Nagiri has spoken about being out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's more than enough time to make it for April 20th, 29th. That's over enough time for him to go through a nice recovery, and then also get back into a big camp, because he's going to need to go through another camp, in a hard camp, because Yuki Yoza, at the moment, looks like he's unbeatable. He looks like Shin Nakuma, just unbeatable. Naraka Yoshinari versus Song Chanwei 2, I like that. I think that's the fight to make, considering that Reef Dean put his name in that and said he wants Naraka Yoshinari next. Personally, if I'm Chowdhury, what I would do is I would say, okay, let's go 174, which is going to be in Malaysia. That's Reef Dean's home country. Let's put Reef Dean up against Song Chanwei, and I want contenders matchup. Bang! Winner gets Naraka Yoshinari at 175. Tawan Chai versus Rukia Anpo. That all depends on what happens with Tawan Chai after fighting Liu Mingyang. If he loses to Liu Mingyang, I say yes, he gets Rukia Anpo next. But I also feel like he's got a Muay Thai belt that needs to be defended. Nico Carrillo's putting on some big waves. I'd love to see him go up against Tawan Chai for that title. He just beat Luke Lissay. that for me books his ticket. Because if they give that one try, Rukia Anpo, then we have Nico Carrillo versus Pampara Koyate. Uh, But personally, I feel like Nico Carrillo shouldn't fight anybody else but Tawan Chai right now. He deserves that opportunity. Rukia Anpo doesn't deserve to fight against someone as big as Tawan Chai right now. He fought against Marat Gagorian, who's not a champion, former champion. I know he's one of the top guys in the world. Lost to Rukia to Marat Gagorian. So in my opinion, you can't fight against a champion. You need to go back of the line so he could reset. He could even be Kaito's first fight or Hiromi Wajima's first fight. Or you could get someone else, someone completely. You could even fight Muhammad Sirani. There you go. You know what I mean? That's what you actually deserve, in my opinion. Masaki no Iri versus Marat Gregorian. I'm not keen on that one. I think Marat Gregorian deserves a title shot, so he should be getting Super One. No one else. Masaki no Iri. Um, who can he fight against? You could probably get someone else. Maybe Shadow. Maybe Smoking Joe. You could even get the run back with Muhammad Sisrani as well. But I don't think he should be fighting against Marat Gagorian. Not because I think he can't win that fight, but I think it's not the right matchup. Marat Gagorian only deserves a title fight at this point. You can't give him anybody else, right? And if he loses the Super One, then there you go. You can get Masaki Noiri. Kaito Uno versus Hiromi Wajima. I'm not against that fight. I feel like both those guys. Wajima fought on a short notice against Nabil Anan, lost that fight. I think fighting Kaito would be a good idea to bring him in as like a new introduction for both of them again. I'm not against that matchup at all. Petanong taking on Hiroki Akimoto. Run back. Yes, please. I think that's a deserved fight considering that Hiroki Akimoto won his last fight against Eamon Blade, who was ranked number 2 at the time. And that was, 2 weeks ago. Petanong is still in the top 5. He beat Akimoto. I think that'll be a very good fight. I don't think Akimoto can get a title shot right now. I think if he beats Petanong, of course, then he can make a claim or stake a claim there. Taiki Naito versus Shimon Yoshinari. I don't want to see Japan on Japan when it comes to a Japanese card. I like the idea of Japan versus the rest of the world. Taiki Naito could fight not Shimon Yoshinari. Taiki Naito deserves someone else because he's actually climbing up the rankings quite fast. Who did he beat in his last fight? He had a fantastic showing in his last fight. So personally, I think he shouldn't be fighting that way. I would say he can get Kong Torani instead. If he's going to continue fighting in the Muay Thai division instead of kickboxing. I think he knocked out Nakarov. So in my opinion, Kong Terani is the guy in line. If not Kong Terani, you give him one of the Russian-based fighters. So either Akif Kulazada or Asamjan Otikov. But I'd love to see him go up against like a Kong Terani. Actually, even Akif Kulazada would be a good fight. I think it would be a very good fight to watch. But not Shimon Yoshinari. Shimon Yoshinari also had an unfortunate fight last week. So personally, I think Shimon Yoshinari should still fight someone that's not really top 10 just yet, like just outside of that top 10. Then he can crack it. Or because he's currently in that rankings of top 10, but I think he needs one more fight before he can fight some of the mainstay guys. Kana Marimoto versus Vero. Give me that fight, please. I think she would actually beat Vero, especially if it's gonna be kickboxing. Um, I'd love to see that matchup really. I think that's a high level fight. Vero, I'm still not convinced on the hype just yet. I've seen now a couple of fights in one championship. I'm not completely sold on it. So I'd love to see a bit more. I think Kana Marimoto would be a tough challenge for her. If she gets through that, then I'll be convinced. But yeah, that's a good matchup if they make that one. You taking on Elias Mahmoudi. Book it now, please. That's a mega fight. Definitely the winner there puts themselves in number one contender spot for the flyweight title, kickboxing title, where Super League is still the champion. Um, yeah, that's a mega fight, bro. I'd love to see that, especially if Mahmoudi has finally completed his ban, then bring him back and let him go in that one. I think that's Sandro Bossi taking on Ryoki Matsuda. Big fight as well. If they book that one at the same time, I think Sandro Bossi or Alec definitely is a superstar already, and he's so young. And I feel like that fight style that he has and that height and reach for the atomweight division is a puzzle. It's going to be a big puzzle for the division, and arguably the one guy who can actually put Narakoshinari in problems. So if this is going to be a card for 175, I can see a lot of these fights actually being booked for that fight card, but it also depends from now until let's say until say mid to late Feb, maybe even March. We will kind of know. I'd say mid to late Feb, we will know exactly what kind of matchups we'll get for this card. It'll be April 29th, right? So there won't be much time after February for fighters to sort of uh, get a tune-up fight under their belt. They would all have to be basically ready in the camp for this one. But okay, chat, that is my time. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We love all the support. What else you can expect for the remainder of the week? We have one Friday Fights 134 preview, which will be released on Thursday morning. And then we have the Friday Fights live, which will be obviously Friday after 2 South African time. There's no UFC this weekend, so there won't be any lives over the course of the weekend. And then on Wednesday, we will, depending on what news we get from the UFC, there'll be a news segment for that as well. But okay, on that note, guys, for myself and the Fighting with Friends team, please have yourself a fantastic rest of the week, and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers, everybody.